Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaimudire. Nashtaprayashva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादि पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Verse 16. श्रीशुकोवाच एवं सप्तश्चित्रकेतुर्विमानाद् अवरुह्य सः प्रसादयामास सतीं मूर्ध्ना नम्रेण भारत. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, my dear King Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility, and pleased her completely. Murdna Namrena, bent his head low, which is a sign of humility. Prasadayamasa, completely pleased her. Citraketuruvacha Pratigruhnami te shapam atmanonjalinambike devairmartyaya yat proktam purvadishtam hitasya tat. Citraketu said, my dear mother, Ambike, O mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. With my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse. For happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. No. Chitraketu was a devotee, but still he's thinking that he's a non-devotee. And he's saying that all of this is being given by demigods, but that's not true for a devotee. Whatever happens in a devotee's life is given, ordained by the Supreme Lord. But he's just showing his humble position. Since Chitraketu was a devotee of the Lord, he was not at all disturbed by the curse of Mother Parvati. So this is the other thing. I knew very well that one suffers or enjoys the results of one's past deeds as ordained by Daiva Netra, superior authority, or the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew that he had not committed any offense at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or the goddess Parvati, yet he had been punished. And this means that the punishment had been ordained. So here, Prabhupada is saying that he had not committed an offense. He had not intentionally committed an offense, but it became an offense in that sense. As in, the way he dealt with the situation made it an offense, though he maybe did not actually mean it. Because previously Prabhupada also said he offended. Right now we're saying he has not committed an offense. So both are true. So sometimes we find these kind of statements in Prabhupada's purport. So we have to understand both statements are true because they're also complex, that seeing from different points of vision, it might seem like different. So here he's saying he was punished though he had not committed an offense. So it was not an offense and yet it was an offense. Thus the king did not mind it. A devotee is naturally so humble and meek that he accepts any condition of life as a blessing of the Lord. So this is the most important thing. Tattenukampam susamikshamaanaha. A devotee always accepts punishment from anyone. Please note this, anyone has the mercy of the Lord. Meaning that punishment might come to us through any person. We might consider that person responsible, but he's not responsible. It's ordained by the Lord. So devotee simply accepts it. If one lives in this conception of life, he sees whatever reverses occur to be due to his past misdeeds, and therefore he never accuses anyone. On the contrary, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Lord because of his being purified by his suffering. Suffering, therefore, is also a process of purification. Look at this. Such a amazing statement. When one suffers, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Lord because of his being purified by suffering. One doesn't become attached to the Lord saying that Krishna, take away all my problems. No. One is becoming attached to the Supreme Lord because of his being purified by his suffering. Mm. So, because of his being purified by his suffering. So, suffering, therefore, is also a process of purification. Suffering is a process of purification. So, it is very important to note. Suffering is a process of purification. We should remember, and we should become attached to the Lord because it's His mercy that He is purifying us. So, we should not be affected by reverses. We should consider it as a blessing of the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection that one who has developed Krishna consciousness and who exists in love with Krishna is no longer subject to suffering and happiness under the laws of karma. So this is a very higher stage. Indeed, he is beyond karma. Brahma Samhita says karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti pacham. A devotee is free from the reactions of his karma because he has taken to devotional service. Now, both these things are true, meaning we have taken to devotional service. At the same time, Prabhupada is saying that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one who is in love with Krishna, he doesn't have karma. Brahma Samhita says if you have taken to devotional service, then the reactions of karma are destroyed, which means and both are same. Taking to devotional service actually means taking to devotional service, loving devotional service, like Prabhupada says. When we take to loving devotional service, meaning doing service to Krishna with some affection, feeling, and not just as some punishment. And in that mood, when one takes initiation, then all karma are destroyed. In that mood, which is why I have been repeating this, this process of initiation. While it is said that it is the beginning of the spiritual life, okay, but it has to be beginning of spiritual life, which is in offering loving devotional service to Krishna. So there is little bit training that is required before actually devotees become initiated. At least they have to understand saying that the goal of life is to develop love for Krishna, and we have to come to the stage of loving devotional service. And in that mood, desiring to come to that stage, if somebody gets initiated, then all their karma is actually destroyed. The same principle is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sugunan samati taitan brahmabhoya kalpate. One who is engaged in devotional service has already been freed from the reactions of his material karma. And thus he immediately becomes Brahmabhuta or transcendental. This is also expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kshiyante chasya karmani. Before attaining the stage of love, one becomes free from all results of karma. So we can understand here. So it all looks like very confusing because here it's saying one who exists in love, he is not under the laws of karma. But how does it happen? Just before attaining the stage of love, one becomes free from the results of karma, which is basically nishta, mukti. But the mood is of loving devotional service. So when one comes to the stage of nishta, then he becomes free from all karma. He is liberated. So actually in that mood, we have to surrender to Guru, and then the reactions of karma are destroyed to the extent of our surrender. It's a little bit all contradictory kind of statements, or it's not very clear when it happens. But from other scriptures, we understand that this happens at Nishta. Okay, but it's also said that at the time of initiation, Guru takes away all karma phala. No, possibly all of them must be true. Which also possibly is increasing the kind of standard required for initiation, right? Mm. Mm. So one has to come to this, uh, to, yeah, surrendered state of wanting to offer loving devotional service and follow the instructions of Guru, then all reactions of karma are taken away. But still, because to remove our anarthas, Krishna still might allow some situations to happen in our life which seem like suffering, but that's just for purification, like here Prabhupada said, purification. Mm. Mm. Yeah, Brahma Bhuyaya, which is Brahma Bhuta stage, which is liberation, which is for us Nishta. So this much part is clear, saying that when one comes to Nishta, all his reactions of karma are destroyed. Um, mm, so only this statement is a little bit still confusing. Karmani dahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Because Brahma Samhita says a devotee is free from reactions of karma. Of course, here possibly the definition of a devotee means one who is come to this higher stage, possibly. Um, yeah, so these two statements are a little bit confusing, which are saying that one has developed Krishna consciousness and who exists in love with Krishna. Mm, he is no longer subject to suffering. But even before reaching this stage, at the stage of Nishta, much before Prema or Bhava, one actually gets rid of sinful reactions. This statement is kind of, maybe it requires a little bit more qualification. It has to be qualified, I think. Anyway, the general understanding is that at post anartha nivritti, nishta, one becomes free from results of all karma. Um, yeah, and subsequently so that is the Brahmabhuta stage, and then he comes to the higher stages of ruchi, asakti, bhava, prem. The Lord is very kind and affectionate towards his devotees, and therefore a devotee in any condition is not subject to see again. Prabhupada saying, is not subjected to the results of karma. So both are true. So he might experience suffering, but it's not results of karma. It's just the mercy of the Lord. A devotee never aspires for the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets, liberation and hell are not different for a devotee, for it does not discriminate between different positions in the material world. A devotee is always eager to return home back to Godhead and remain there as the Lord's associate. This ambition becomes increasingly fervent in his heart, and therefore he does not care about material changes in his life. Very, very important. This ambition becomes increasingly fervent. So, fervent means having or displaying a passionate intensity. Fervent, passionate, intense. That's what it means. Intense. When it becomes intense in the heart, ambition becomes increasingly intense in the heart, and he does not care about material changes in his life because his focus is only on this return home back to Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Maharaj Citraketu's being cursed by Parvati should be considered the mercy of the Lord. The Lord wanted Citraketu to return to Godhead as soon as possible, and therefore he terminated all the reactions of his past deeds. Acting through the heart of Parvati, the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, cursed Citraketu in order to end all his material reactions. Thus Citraketu became Vitrasura in his next life and returned home back to Godhead. So acting through the heart of Parvati, cursed Citraketu in order to end all his material reactions. Not sure how this ended all his material reactions. Yeah, but Prabhupada is saying this ended all material reactions. So that's what it is. And he became Vritrasura in his next life and returned home back to God. So from this statement, looks like even though he became a demon, His birth was not because of his material reactions, because all his material reactions ended. So this was just the Lord's plan. That's all. That he had to become Vritrasura. Then he has to give instructions to Indra on the battlefield, become glorious, and then go back to Godhead. Mm. Which is why bhakti is very, very complicated. We can never know who is what, who is who. See, a demon externally is a demon, but it was his birth as a demon was not a result of his past karma. So, which is why we have to be very careful. Its whole cause of bhakti is very complex in that sense. We can't really understand the heart of a Vaishnava, the desire of Lord, what he does to devotees. But one thing we can understand is that it's all for the good. And depends on the desire of the devotee. Mm. It's all for the good. But what we need to do is we need to develop this eagerness, and it has to become very intense to go back to Godhead. And we should just stop caring about material issues in our life. Just don't be too worried about it. Don't give it too much attention. Hmm? Hmm. So devotee suffers results of karma till nishta. Even after that, if there is any karma, any suffering, it is mostly ordained by the Lord for the purification of the devotee, or to increase his, this ambition. So that is one understanding. The other understanding is also that even considering this one to be true, Brahma Samhita, saying the one takes to devotional service, meaning pure devotional service, one has taken to pure devotional service, then also the time of initiation, all the karma phala is destroyed. But the Lord gives some suffering for purification. So it totally depends on the mood of the devotee, on mercy of the Lord, and so many things. Both are possible. But the important thing is that surrender, mood of surrender. Otherwise, why would Lord take away all reactions? Okay, a little bit complicated purport. Any questions? I can explain to whatever extent I've understood. Any questions on this? संसारचक्र एतस्मिन् जन्तुरज्ञानमोहितः भ्राम्यन् सुखं च दुःखं च भुङ्क्ते सर्वत्र सर्वदा. Deluded by ignorance, the living entity wanders in the forest of this material world, enjoying the happiness and distress resulting from his past deeds everywhere and at all times. Therefore, my dear mother, neither you nor I am to be blamed for this incident. So, Citraketu is just saying this is just a result of my past karma. Of course, it's not completely true because we also do new karma, right? Misuse of our free will. The bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself the doer of activities that are actually carried out by nature. Actually, a conditioned soul is completely under the control of material nature. Wandering here and there, he is subjected to the results of his past deeds. It is carried out by the laws of nature, but one foolishly thinks himself the doer. To get free from karma chakra, the wheel of the results of one's karma, one should take to devotional service. That is the only remedy. But what devotional service? Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. So full surrender. So full surrender. So possibly this is how we can understand. If we are fully surrendered, then that time Krishna takes away karma and nishta, possibly whichever happens earlier, maybe, or both will happen together. Yeah. नैवात्मनः परश्चापि कर्ता स्यात् सुखदुःखयोः कर्तारं मन्यते त्राज्ञा आत्मानं परमेव च. This material world, neither the living entity himself nor others are the cause of material happiness and distress, but because of ignorance, gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause. This word, the word agna, is very significant, ignorant. This world, all living entities are ignorant in different degrees. This ignorance continues very strongly in the mode of ignorance presented by material nature. One must therefore promote himself to the stage of goodness through his character and behavior, and then gradually come to the transcendental platform or adhokshaja platform. First, we have to come to goodness, then we have to come to Shuddha Sattva, in which he realizes both his position and the position of others. And this is a stage of realization. Everything is done under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The process by which the results of actions are ordained is called niyatam, always working. गुणप्रवाह एतस्मिन् कः शापः कोन्मनुग्रहः कः स्वर्गो नरकः को वा किं सुखं दुःखमेव वा. Material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what is a curse and what is a favor? What are the heavenly planets? What are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness? What is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Viche Mayara Vashe Yacha Beshe Khacha Ha Budugun Bhai. My dear living entities within the material world, why are you being carried away by the waves of the modes of material nature? Jiva Krishna Das E Vishwas Korleta Dukhanai. The living entity tries to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna. There will be no longer be misery for him. Krishna wants us to give up all other engagements and surrender unto him. Please note, give up all other engagements and surrender unto him. If we do so, there will be the cause and effect of this material world. If we do so, where will the cause and effect of this material world be? Meaning there won't be any cause and effect of the material world if one gives up all engagements and surrenders to Krishna. There's nothing like cause and effect for the surrendered soul. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this regard that being put into this material world is like being thrown into a mine of salt. If one falls into a mine of salt, he tastes only salt wherever he goes. Similarly, this material world is full of miseries. The so-called temporary happiness of the world is also misery. But in ignorance, we cannot understand this. That is the actual position. When one comes to his senses, when he becomes Krishna conscious, he is no longer concerned with the various conditions of this material world. Concerned. Don't care. He's not concerned with happiness, distress, curse, favors, heavenly, hellish planets. He sees no distinction. He just doesn't care. It's fine. Whatever is happening to the body. I am Atma. I'm to just remain Krishna conscious. That's all. Very tough. So the temporary happiness is also misery. So this is like a salt, mine of salt, material world. So everything, there's no distinction. It's all suffering only, different ways of suffering. So surrendered devotee does not care. Is no longer concerned about the various conditions of this material world. Surrendered devotee. Ekasrujati bhutani bhagavanatma mayaya yesham bandham cha moksham cha sukham dukkham cha nishkalaha. Supreme Person of Godhead is one, unaffected by the conditions of the material world. He creates all the conditioned souls by his own personal potency. Because of being contaminated by the material energy, the living entity is put into ignorance and thus into different conditions of bondage. Sometimes by knowledge, the living entity is given liberation. In Sattva-guna and Rajoguna, he is subjected to happiness and distress. And so Tamoguna is complete ignorance. Then in Sattva-guna, there is material happiness. In Rajoguna, there is distress. And sometimes by knowledge is given liberation. The question may be raised why the living entities are situated in different conditions and who has arranged this. The answer that it has been done by the Supreme Lord without anyone's help. Rasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. There's multiple energies. And one of them, namely the external energy, creates the material world and the varieties of happiness and distress for the conditioned souls under the supervision of the Lord. Material world consists of three modes. By Satoguna, the Lord maintains the material world. By Rajoguna, he creates it. By Tamoguna, he annihilates it. After the varieties of living entities are created, they are subjected to happiness and distress according to their association. As in association of the modes, when they are in Satoguna, they feel happiness. Rajoguna, they are distressed. Tamoguna, they have no sense of what to do or what is right or wrong. So this is the influence of the modes. So if you're in happiness, we can understand this is the result of Satoguna. If you're in distress, that's the result of Rajoguna. And Tamoguna means we just have no sense of what to do or what is right, what is wrong. न तस्य कश्चित् दैरप्रतीपो न ज्ञाति बन्धुर्न परो न च स्वः समस्य सर्वत्र निरञ्जनस्य सुखेन रागः कुत एव रोषः. Supreme Personality Godhead is equally disposed toward all living entities. Therefore, no one is very dear to him and no one is a great enemy for him. No one is his friend, no one is his relative. Being unattached to the material world, he has no affection for so-called happiness or hatred for so-called distress. The two terms happiness and distress are relative. Since the Lord is always happy, for him there is no question of distress. Again, this is more Paramatma feature. Lord, of course, has affection for his friends. He has friends. He doesn't have enemies, but he has friends. And he has parents whom he loves, extremely. So he has also, but it's not the material happiness or distress. It is spiritual happiness, distress. So it's not that spiritual world is devoid of any feelings. So there is happiness, there's distress. But distress is also a form of happiness. Here, in this material world, happiness is also a form of distress. The spiritual world, distress is also a form of happiness. Very difficult to understand. When there is separation from Krishna, devotees feel distress. But the distress is also happiness in one sense, saying that they look forward to again meeting Krishna. Or the distress itself creates such a deep connection with Krishna that Krishna actually manifests himself when the devotees are in such distress. So actually it makes whether happiness or distress, it always brings them closer to Krishna. So there is nothing like unhappiness. There's nothing like distress in the spiritual world, but externally there might be feelings of distress, like when Krishna went from Vrindavan, devotees were in distress. But actually, Krishna was present in his Purti form. Whenever they were in such distress, Krishna used to be present amongst them. But they used to think that it's actually a dream. And so they used to feel distress. But actually, Krishna was there and they were experiencing happiness also. So it's like, complex. But it's all form of happiness. It's all just happiness because it's all in connection with Krishna. It's nothing to do with the happiness or distress of this material world. तथापि तच्चक्ति विसर्गयेषां सुखाय दुःखाय हिताहिताय बन्धाय मोक्षाय च मृत्युजन्मनोः शरीरिणां संसृतये वकल्पते. Although the Supreme Lord is unattached to our happiness and distress according to karma, and although no one is his enemy or favorite, he creates pious and impious activities through the agency of his material potency. Thus, for the continuation of the materialistic way of life, he creates happiness and distress, good fortune, bad, bondage, liberation, birth and death. He just creates all this just because it's required for being in this material world, or is part of the material world. Although the Supreme Lord is the ultimate doer of everything, in his original transcendental existence, he is not responsible for the happiness and distress, bondage and liberation of the conditioned souls. They are due to the result of the fruitive activities of the living entities themselves. By the order of a judge, one person is released from jail and another is imprisoned. But the judge is not responsible for the distress and happiness of these different people. He is due to their own activities. Although the government is ultimately the supreme authority, the justice is administered by the departments of the government. And the government is not responsible for the individual judgments. Therefore, the government is equal to all the citizens. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is neutral to everyone, but for the maintenance of law and order, the Supreme Government has various departments which control the activities of the living entities. Another example given in this regard is that lily is open and closed because of the sunshine, and thus the bumblebees enjoy or suffer. But the sunshine and the sun globe are not responsible for the happiness and distress of the bumblebees. Hmm. अतः प्रसादयेन त्वां शापं मोक्षाय भामिनि यन्मन्यसे ह्यसाधुक्तं mama tat kshamyatam sati. Oh mother, you are now unnecessarily angry, but since all my happiness and distress are destined by my past activities, I do not plead to be excused or relieved from your curse. Although what I've said is not wrong, please let whatever you think is wrong be pardoned. See, very nice. Although what I have said is not wrong, please let whatever you think is wrong be pardoned. Meaning, from your perception, if you are seeing something as wrong, please pardon me. But I don't see anything wrong, or I have not said anything wrong. But if you see something as wrong, please pardon me. Being fully aware of how the results of one's karma accrue by the laws of nature, Chitraketu did not want to be released from Parvati's curse. Nonetheless, he wanted to satisfy her because, although his verdict was natural, she was displeased with him. And so now again, Prabhupada is justifying Chitraketu. As a matter of course, Maharaj Chitraketu begged pardon from Parvati. So this is that contradiction. So he had not said anything wrong, but she saw it as wrong. So that way it was an offense, but he had not done any offense. Mm. Mm. He didn't have that malice in his heart. So it was not an offense, but it was seen as offensive. So which is why we have to be also very careful how we are perceived. Sometimes people perceive us wrongly. Even though we don't have any bad intention, we are perceived wrongly. But in one sense, we are also responsible for creating that perception. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure that we don't create some wrong perception. And it's not that we have to go, out of the way to manage that, but it's important to understand, okay, why am I creating that perception? If there's something which is genuinely can be corrected, we should correct. So, yeah, this is the answer to that contradiction of whether he had offended or not offended. Shishukovacha iti prasadya girishau chitraketurarindama jagama subhimanena pashyato smayatostayoho. Shishukadeva Goswami continued, O Parikshit, subduer of the enemy. After Chitraketu satisfied Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati, he boarded his airplane and left as they looked on. When Lord Shiva and Parvati saw that Chitraketu, although informed of the curse, was unafraid, they smiled, being fully astonished by his behavior. And so Parvati also smiled, Shiva also smiled. Tatastu Bhagavan Rudro Rudranim idam abravit devarshi daitya siddhanam parshadhanam chashunvatam. So then Lord tells in the presence of Narada, demons, inhabitants of Siddhaloka, etc., and his personal associates, he, who is most powerful, spoke to his wife Parvati while they all listened. Shri Rudra Vacha, Drishtavatyasya Sushroni Harer Adbhuta Karmanaha Mahatmyam Bhritya Bhrityanam Nisprahanam Mahatmanam. My dear beautiful Parvati, have you seen the greatness of the Vaishnavas? Being servants of the Supreme Lord Hari, they are great souls and are not interested in any kind of material happiness. This is the sign of greatness of a Vaishnava. The great souls are not interested in any kind of material happiness. And they're servants of Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva told his wife, my dear Parvati, you are very beautiful in your bodily features. Certainly you are glorious. But I do not think that you can compete with the beauty and glory of the devotees who become servants of the Supreme Lord in quality. That is their beauty, that they are not interested in any kind of material happiness. Of course, Lord Shiva smiled when he joked with his wife in that way, for others cannot speak like that. The Supreme Lord is always exalted in his activities. And here is another example of his wonderful influence upon King Chitraketu, his devotee. Just see, although you cursed the king, he was not at all afraid or sorry. And rather, he offered respect to you, called you mother, and accepted your curse, thinking himself faulty. He did not say anything in retaliation. This is the excellence of a devotee. Now, for those who are confused, sometimes many devotees ask me, what should I do if somebody, if somebody does something wrong, no, don't retaliate. Then this will become the excellence of the devotee. We are not so surrendered. We think that everything is I have to do, I have to take care, I have to speak. Otherwise, how will that person know that he did a mistake? So we retaliate and we continue retaliating. It is not the sign of a devotee, not a sign of an advanced devotee. Right? Material people retaliate. So this is the excellence of a devotee. Such a beautiful statement. These are the things that we have to remember. This now has to be stuck in our head. Excellence of a devotee is when he just does not retaliate. He's humble, mildly tolerating your curse. Certainly excelled the glory of your beauty and your power to curse him. He excelled your glory of your beauty and your power to curse him. Meaning that behavior is more glorified than your beauty or your power to curse him. Oh, so powerful she cursed. No, that he tolerated the curse was more glorious than her power to curse. I can impartially judge that this devotee has defeated you and your excellence simply by becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tharorapi Sahishnuna. Just like a tree, a devotee can tolerate all kinds of curses and reversals in life. This is the excellence of a devotee. Indirectly, Lord Shiva forbade Parvati to commit the mistake of cursing a devotee like Citraketu. Indicated that although she was powerful, the king, without showing any power, had excelled her power by his tolerance. Just see, such a powerful purport this is. The glory of being humble. So Lord Shiva is glorifying that quality of a devotee, which is to just be humble and not be affected by anything material, not retaliate. That is the power of a devotee. That is the power of a devotee beyond any other display of any other power. He excelled her power by his tolerance, meaning his power was more than her power to curse. And he showed his power by tolerating it, not by retaliating in counter cursing or something else. Very nice instruction for all of us. Narayana para sarve nakutaschana bhibyati svargapavarga narakeshu api tulyarthadarshinaha. Very famous verse this is. Narayana para. Pure devotees were interested only in the service of Narayana. Devotees solely engaged in devotional service of Supreme Lord Narayana. Na kutaschana bhibyati. They never fear any condition of life. Swarga, apavarga, naraka. Swarga, higher planetary systems, liberation, naraka, hell. Tulyartha darshanaha. They treat it equally. They are all the same. For those devotees who are interested only in the service of the Lord, heaven, hell, liberation is all the same. They don't care. Parvati might naturally have inquired how devotees become so exalted. Therefore, this verse explains that they are Narayana para, simply dependent on Narayana. They do not mind reverses in life because in the service of Narayana, they have learned to tolerate whatever hardships there may be. We learn to tolerate whatever hardships our life is giving us. They do not care whether they are in heaven or hell. They simply engage in the service of the Lord. What is hell? Maybe suffering in this world is hell. We can think of it as hell. But still, what should we continue? Simply engaging the service of the Lord. This is their excellence. Anukulyena Krishnanusaya Shilanam. They're liberally engaged in the service of the Lord and therefore they're excellent. Prityabrithyanam. Lord Shiva pointed out that although Citraketu provided one example of tolerance and excellence, all devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord as eternal servants are glorious. They have no eagerness to be happy. Just this much. Cut this. Cut, copy, paste into our mind. No eagerness to be materially happy. Yeah, being placed in heavenly planets, becoming liberated, or becoming one with Brahman, blah. And of course, what to speak of insignificant material happiness of this world, meaning of earth. These benefits do not appeal to their minds. They're simply interested in giving direct service to the Lord. So amazing. Dehinam deha samyogat dvandvanishwara leelaya sukham dukkham mritirjanma shapo nugraha evacha. Because the actions of the Supreme Lord's external energy, the living entities are conditioned in contact with material bodies. The duality of happiness, distress, birth, death, curses, favors are natural byproducts. But yeah, everything is going on by the control, Maya Dyakshena. Yeah, so Durga acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord, not independently. Krishna is impartial, but because this is the material world of duality, such relative terms as happiness and distress are created by the will of the Supreme. Those who are not Narayana Para, who are not pure devotees, must be disturbed by this duality of this material world. Whereas devotees who are simply attached to the service of the Lord are not at all disturbed by it. Haridas Thakur was beaten with cane in 22 bazaars, but he was never disturbed. And instead, he smilingly tolerated the beating. Despite the disturbing dualities of the material, devotees are not disturbed at all because they fix their minds on the lotus feet of the Lord and concentrate on the holy name of the Lord. They do not feel the so-called pains and pleasures caused by the dualities of this material world. See, always chanting Hare Krishna, concentrating on the holy name of the Lord, they don't feel pains and pleasures. So amazing. How many more verses are there? 30. Oh, okay, still more. Okay, we'll continue. Yeah, so we'll stop here. Okay, any questions, comments? Very powerful set of verses today. Anything, anybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Janet.
Yes.
Prabhuji, like the rishis and all, they give curses and then
Mm.
till Narad Muni and the demigods are not. They can't curse. They can give only benedictions.
Okay. Demigods can't curse.
That's when you read out. You did read out this particular line
Maybe
in
no
the pack.
demigod
Yes,
has
yes.
cursed. Yeah,
You
maybe
can.
they don't have the power to curse. I don't know. Anybody remembers any demigod who cursed? Mm, yeah, maybe they don't have the power. Okay, need to think about it. But yeah, just as of now, I feel no instances, at least we have not heard anything like demigods cursing.
Yeah, because they give so much of benediction. I mean, yes, the benedictions come through the Lord. Fine.
No, but
But
that's their portfolio.
yes,
It's based
Prabhu.
on what roles and responsibilities they have been given, so they have to abide by it. But doesn't look like there's anything they don't have cursing in their portfolio.
And but the rishis can. So the rishis
Yeah,
are higher than the
yeah,
demigods.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Rishis are higher than demigods from a yogic power perspective, right? So again, that higher in what sense, right? In from with respect to the Lord's overall material creation, demigods are higher because they are agents of the Supreme Lord. But rishis, munis are another aspect of the Supreme Lord's power. So yeah, we can't maybe directly compare just on this one particular quality, but yeah, in this on this particular quality they seem to be having more powers than demigods. I don't know, I mean, this is a very would be a very deep topic, right? What kind of which rishis, what have they achieved, what is their material position, mm, so on and so forth. So yeah, looks like there are some who are been possibly who are not attached to material things. They have the right to curse. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's something behind this. Yeah.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question which is
Yeah.
slightly? I was reading Prahlad Maharaj yesterday, and they're the offenses which we do. And over there
Mm.
he says you have to worship the Ganapati in the Vaikuntha before you worship Krishna. Otherwise, it's an upfront. I mean, I could not follow this. If you could anytime read it and answer tomorrow, anytime.
Okay, I'll see. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
like I know it's not related to
No,
the
no, it's
class.
fine. It's fine. I'll
Thanks.
see.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Vinod Prabhu, you had something to say?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, bro.
Hare
So
Krishna.
yeah, I was just uh, uh, contemplating on that, Haridas Thakur's example,
Mm,
where he was beaten in 22 marketplaces. But later
mm,
on, in one of the pastimes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he reveals that, okay, Haridas, I took all the beatings upon my, back. I mean, he shows
mm,
marks on his back as well. So in
mm.
that case, because if we imagine, I mean, if I put myself, of course, we're not in a stage of Haridas Thakur, but a couple of
Why would
a couple of
why
couple
would you
of
want to
whip
put
sticks, and
yourself?
you would have given up your body in a couple of
No,
whip
but we should
sticks.
never compare. We should never compare.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
But
no
here in
means.
this example, it says that Haridas Thakur smilingly took up all the beatings,
Oh yeah,
but I could. I mean, but in his case, the Lord Himself took up. He took all the pain, from that punishment. I don't know. In the example of the Maya Devi alluring Haridas Thakur,
yeah.
right? So I don't know how Lord protected, but in all these cases, I mean, like Lord Himself has stepped in to protect the devotees. Looks like, otherwise, I don't know
Pure
how.
devotees who don't ask anything from the Lord, Lord
Yeah.
will come in.
Yes. Yes.
Don't have to ask. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Hare
Then
Krishna
next is
Prabhu, just adding this to
yeah.
what Prabhu said.
Yeah.
Of course, taking beatings is not easy, but
Mm,
still I mean, in a material world, we see freedom fighters. The way they are tortured and all that. What
mm,
really outstands in Haridas Thakur case, what I realize is the 3 continuous day of that prostitute being there, hardly clad,
mm,
negligently clad, and he not,
mm,
for me,
mm,
that takes the cake. I mean,
mm.
that sense. See, even the rishis,
Yeah.
tinklets, they get this thing.
Yeah.
That was,
Ashwamedha.
like, I mean, for me, the beating was not so surprising as this was.
Ah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but it is my realization, probably. Sorry, I
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
shared
No,
it.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
it
That's
makes
fine.
sense, Mataji.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
thank
the
you.
devotee is unconcerned with all aspects of material world, and for all of us who are conditioned souls, some aspects are more binding than the others. But for the pure devotee, it could be like hundreds of us put together. What all we could get allured with, they will not get affected by any of those, right? So that's their greatness, that's their excellence. Yes, so each of us could get inspired by seeing different aspects of a devotee's behavior. And yes, thank you for that, Mataji. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll close. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः कृष्ण की जय समवेत गौर भक्त की जय हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then